Okay, I'm back. Finishing my Screaming Pumpkin recap. Already been through a whole hour of crap. And so I finally get my number after Mr. Rude Man from Kansas cut in front of the whole entire line. And I go to the next, after you get your number, you get your gear. You step up to get your gear. And like I said before, they did not have packets done up in advance. And I just have to say, I registered online on the Monday before. So I registered 4 days in advance. Now, and I actually didn't see it. I only know this because when my friend registered her team, she mentioned this. I didn't see it. I'm not saying it wasn't on the website. I'm not saying it wasn't in the email. I did not see it whatsoever. But she brought it to her attention that it did say on there that you had to register by October 15th to be guaranteed your size. I don't ever remember seeing that whatsoever. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but I'm like, well, that's news to me. I didn't know that. So I step over to get my gear, and the woman's like, what's your name? And I tell her my name, Carmen Peterson. And she's like, you're not on this list. I'm like, well, I said I pre-registered. I registered online. And she's like, did you do it before October 15th? And I said, no, I did it on Monday. And she's like, oh, no. If you did not, it was funny. It was a little Chinese woman. So when I recount this in my head, I say it in like her little Chinese voice or Japanese, whatever it is. So kind of cute. But she's like, no. If you didn't register by October 15th, your name not on the list. And I'm like, okay. Which I just have to say, I get that there needs to be a pre-registration deadline. I get that needed to be in place. I will have to say that what I did see on the website was that there would be no in-store or mail-in registration after Tuesday, which would have been 3 days before the race, that you could only register online. If it was Tuesday up until race day, you had to register online. And the fee went up after that point. So that's the only thing I personally saw about it, about there being a price difference, with there being a cutoff, with no in-person registration or whatever. And I get that. You have to draw a line somewhere. October 15th seems pretty far out. The event was October 26th. So, 10 days. I guess that's not too far out, but whatever. So, okay, you have to make a cutoff to order your gear and whatever. But I guess what I don't understand is that why there was not a more current roster updated. I understand there's the cutoff for October 15th. I don't understand why the race is held on Friday night. Why, as of midnight that day, was a brand new roster not ran? Okay, yeah, I didn't register super far in advance, but I registered the days before. It's not like I registered like at noon that day and then walked up 6 hours later expecting to be on the list. I registered days in advance. Why was there a roster, not a more recent roster, not printed out, or cut your deadline off? That if by Tuesday of that week, if you are not registered, there is no registration whatsoever as of Tuesday. And then you run the roster as of that late, it's not the same thing. But when I run trainings for the Y, like right before my training, the day before, the night before, 24 hours before my event, I run my roster. Because you don't know who might have slipped in there at the last minute. And even then, I understand that a person or two, I had that at my last training. Someone was not on my list. And and I had to make phone calls up to national office and find out this guy actually was registered. It was totally legit and fine. So I don't understand why more than 10 days in advance was the last roster that you ran. Run a roster. Get people on there. I mean, I still got my gear. And actually, I guess the interesting thing of it, it's not anything that hurt me necessarily, because she gave me what I wanted. To me, I could see where the potential that could hurt you. She had no way to verify. For all she knew, I could have walked up and said, yeah, I'm running the marathon. I want me a jacket. And I could have just been a 10K-er. She would have had no clue whatsoever. She was taking my word for it, which, we should live in a society where we can take people's word for certain things. But Oh, that sounds like a good idea to me. So, I mean, I got my stuff. She's like, well, you're not on this list. I'm like, well, I pre-registered. I did it on Monday. Well, you're not on this list. October 15th. Okay. She's like, well, what do you want? And so I'm like, I told her my sizes, and she gave me my stuff. Finally, after over an hour, probably an hour and 20 minutes or whatever from when I very first got there, I finally got my stuff. So, I would just suggest run a roster more recent. That just, I don't know, it's a small detail, but to me, it potentially hurts you more than it hurts us. But I guess the way the woman reacted, she was just kind of like scoffing, like, oh, you're not on the list. You know, October 15th, didn't register then. Excuse me for not registering on October 15th. I never even knew about that cutoff date. But she was the one who was like, oh, you're not on the list. What size do you want? Well, excuse me. Run a more recent roster. All right, I'll get off that. That was just like another straw that broke the camel's back, I'm telling you. 'Cause I just really wanted to run a race. So once I got going, they changed the course. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying one way or the other. I did not know that the course had changed. I would have thought that that would have been stated. Maybe it was on the website. I didn't see it. Maybe if it wasn't stated on there, just a hint, you know, maybe you want to state new course this year. It was basically the same, but there were some changes in there that I noticed almost right away. I'm like, oh, we're not going down that little thing and back. It's changing. We're going up this way instead. So, you know, the race seemed to really have taken off this year. I think that when we pulled into the parking lot, actually, the first thing, I'm like, we had to like go up and down the aisles of the parking lot to even find a parking spot, and we've never had that problem before. I think the race bumped up a notch in terms of participation. I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear like what numbers were the last few years versus the numbers this year. Was there really that big of an increase in participation? And the costumes, this is the bad thing, I'm just noting little details. I tend to be a little detail person. The costumes were like way up a notch too. There were way more costumes, way more substance to the costume. Not this is bad, but not just the little occasional sparkly skirt or whatever. No, there were some serious costumes going on. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, it was great. That was a positive thing. It helped with the environment of the race and going on and whatnot. So once I got running, this is personal. This is obviously had nothing to do with the race. Once I got running, I started having tummy issues. I did not feel good. I was already, though, the whole issue with just trying to get my number and to get started, I was pretty much defeated before the race even started, before I started my own race. I had spent the last hour going back and forth between, okay, I'm patient, I'm fine, stay calm, stuff happens, to I can't believe people are going up and getting their stuff without getting in line. I can't, you know, between anger and between tears, there were times where I just wanted to cry because I just wanted to run. And it shouldn't have been this complicated. It was trying my patience. And I do think I have pretty good patience as a mother of 6 children. But I was pretty defeated even before I started and had no one to run with, which, I mean, I can run on my own. That's not necessarily a huge idea, but mentally going into it, I was prepared to run a loop with my friend, with my running partner, and I just had to start going off, and I tried to be like, okay, got my stuff, gonna get going. And the first loop wasn't too bad, a little bit of ickiness, but when I went out and did my second loop, partway through, I actually just stopped at the aid station to grab something to drink, and I was like, I'm done. And I walked for like the next 2 miles. And not even like, I'm walking. Okay, I'm like, nope, I'm walking. Like, I'm walking. Yep, I'm covering the course. Gonna get it done one way or the other. I was done. And so by the time I got back with my second loop and my running partner, she's like, well, it took you a long time there. I'm like, yeah, I walked. She's like, yeah, I thought you were gone for a long time. So I just walked up and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this, you know. I consider myself a really tough person, but I just had so much go on that night, and then my stomach was bothering me. That's nobody's fault. That's obviously can't blame the race for that. Just crappy total night for me, and I was done. Of course, later, I was kind of like, oh, maybe I should have gone and done another loop. I still actually had, that was like, I still had like 3 hours where I could have gone out. I probably could have finished, but I was like, why? I'm miserable. I'm completely miserable out there. It's no fun. The fun of this night had been totally sucked out, and I was just done. Of course, I was second guessing myself and beating myself up that I should have been out there at least trying with my every last breath to get that course done. But I don't know. Sometimes being tough means knowing when to just call it quits and being done. Why? What am I going to prove by being out there and suffering for every one of those miles that I was going to go out there and do? So that is my Screaming Pumpkin race recap. I got all my gear. I even, I didn't finish, but I still went. I mentioned this before because I showed you my medal. I even went up and got a finisher's medal. I only did 2 loops, so I did a half marathon. I was like, well, it's better than nothing. But I walked, and they didn't even question me. I just walked up. I still had my number on. I said, hey, I forgot to grab my medal when I came through. Total lie. Sorry, I'm a liar. At that, everybody lies, okay? I lied. Not that makes me a huge liar. You can trust me. But, they didn't question me. They're like, oh, okay, here you go. And they gave me my medal. And I went up and I got me my tiara and my wand. When my friends finished their marathon relay, we all walked over. We got our wands and tiaras. And I'm like, you know what? I don't pay $130 and not get what I came to get. I got what I paid for. And the experience was completely awful. I would say a large part of it was the race's fault. Maybe half of it. I don't know. Some of it was just bad luck with my stomach. Bad luck with the computers going down. I get that crap happens. But I think there was a lot that could have been prevented. Absolutely. I seriously hope you guys listen to these and just take to heart. I'm not expecting, I don't know. I was to the point too, I'm like, I probably need some of my money back. This was such an awful evening that a lot of it was controlled by the race officials. I do think there's a chunk of it that the responsibility lays on your shoulders. And I paid a lot of money for this. I don't even know if I'm going to do it next year. I've had enough. There were actually issues the year before that I didn't even mention here because it was last year. I probably mentioned it last year. I don't remember. But the second year in a row of there being issues, and this year having it being so much more worse and so much more affecting my evening, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to do this race again. Not unless I know for sure that some things are going to change. It's, number one, the race has been ruined for me personally. The whole experience just completely ruined that race. I'm like, I'm never going to see this race again. I'm always going to view it based on this experience that I had this year. So yeah, that's my recap. I've said that a gazillion times. I'm just like in a mood to talk, I guess. When I get this way, I just talk, and I've got things to do. So I need to get off, and I still need to go on my 3rd point for today. Or maybe I'll make this my 3rd point, another point for today. All right. Have a good day. Bye.